Celine Sky smiled at her phone, tilting her head slightly to find the best angle. The lighting had to be perfect. Her face had to look flawless. "Guys, I need the perfect shot. Nothing can ruin this, right?" she said, adjusting her phone screen. She pouted her lips slightly, testing different expressions. Then she frowned. Something wasn't right. She moved the phone a little to the left. No, that didn't fix it. She tilted it to the right. Ugh, still not good. Something was in her background that didn't belong. Celine narrowed her eyes, trying to see what was messing up her shot. And then she saw him. A man sitting alone at a table. He was wearing a simple dark blue hoodie, which looked totally out of place in a fancy restaurant like this. Everyone else was dressed in expensive suits or glittering gowns, but this man looked like he had just walked in off the street. He wasn't taking pictures of his food, wasn't looking around to see if anyone recognized him. He was just sitting there, quietly eating his meal, completely ignoring the world around him. Celine huffed, flipping her hair over her shoulder. She tried adjusting her phone again. No matter how she moved, the man was still in the background. It was like he was ruining her perfect video on purpose. The comments started popping up fast. "Haha, that guy in the background looks so out of place. Who even let him in? Ugh, get him out of the shot, Celine." Celine took a deep breath. She was getting annoyed now. This was supposed to be her big moment. She was at the most exclusive restaurant in Los Angeles, showing her millions of followers how glamorous her life was. The table, the lighting, the dress, it was all supposed to be perfect. But now, some random guy in a hoodie was ruining the whole thing. She glanced at her comments again. "Celine, go say something. Ask him to move. I'll tell him he's in the way." Celine sighed dramatically, putting on a sweet, fake smile. She stood up from her seat, smoothing down her shimmering dress, and strutted toward the man's table. He still didn't notice her. He was calmly chewing his food, his eyes focused on his plate. He didn't seem to care about the buzz of the restaurant, the soft music, or the celebrities sitting at other tables. He was just eating. Celine stopped beside his table and leaned in slightly, flashing her most charming smile. "Hey there, sir," she said in a sing-song voice. "Would you mind moving out of my shot? I need a more, aesthetic background for my live stream." She kept her voice sugary sweet, but inside she was already annoyed. The man slowly looked up at her. His face was calm, unreadable. He blinked once. Then again. He didn't seem impressed. Celine felt her patience wearing thin. Did he not know who she was? The man carefully set down his fork. He reached for his napkin, wiped the corners of his mouth, and then looked back at her. Finally, he gave her a small, polite smile. "The real world doesn't have filters," he said simply. Celine froze. For a second, she didn't know how to respond. Her live chat exploded. OMG, did he just roast her? LMAO, that was smooth. Wait, who is this guy? Celine blinked, her brain scrambling for a comeback. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. She was the star here. People were supposed to do what she wanted. She let out a nervous little laugh. Yeah, sure, but this is an important live stream, you know? She held up her phone as if that explained everything. The man just shrugged and picked up his fork again. He didn't say anything else. He wasn't angry. He wasn't embarrassed. He just didn't care. Celine stood there, her smile starting to crack. She could feel the eyes of the restaurant on her now. People were watching. Some were whispering to each other. A few of the waiters had even stopped moving, their trays balanced in their hands as they waited to see what would happen next. And for the first time that night, Celine felt something she hadn't felt in a long, long time. She felt out of control. She had spent years building her brand. She was Celine Sky, social media queen. She had 3 million followers who adored her. She had brands begging her to promote their products. She was used to people treating her like she was special. But this man? This man didn't care at all. He wasn't impressed by her fame. He wasn't flustered by her presence. He wasn't even slightly interested in being on her live stream. And somehow that made Celine feel small. Her followers kept spamming the comments. Celine, say something. Why is she just standing there? Hello, she doesn't know what to do. She could feel the heat rising to her face. She had to fix this. She had to take back control. Forcing another laugh, she flipped her hair and turned back to her phone. Wow, guys, I think we just found the most mysterious man in LA, she joked, trying to keep the mood light. Maybe he's secretly a billionaire in disguise. She expected her followers to laugh along with her, but instead, the comments had taken a different turn. Wait, I just realized who he looks like. OMG, no way. That's him, isn't it? Celine, girl, you just messed with the wrong person. Celine frowned. What were they talking about? She glanced over her shoulder at the man again. He was still eating, still quiet, still completely uninterested in her. But her followers clearly recognized him. Her heart started to race. Had she just made a huge mistake? She quickly swiped through her chat, trying to catch up with what they were saying. More and more people were commenting, their messages coming in so fast she could barely read them. And then, finally, one comment made her stomach drop. That's famous name? Celine's breath caught in her throat. She turned slowly, looking at the man again. No way. It couldn't be. But now that she was really looking at him, she realized he did look familiar. His face. His posture. The way he carried himself. She had seen him before. And if her followers were right, she hadn't just embarrassed herself in front of a random stranger. She had just embarrassed herself in front of someone way more powerful than she realized. Celine's fingers tightened around her phone. This night was not going the way she had planned. She let out a nervous laugh and crossed her arms. Oh, I get it. You just want attention, right? She said, rolling her eyes. I totally support that, sir, but there are way cooler ways to do it. The man didn't react. He just tore off a piece of bread from his plate and ate it calmly as if she wasn't even there. Celine felt irritation bubbling inside her. She was supposed to be in control here. This was her live stream, her moment. She couldn't let some random guy ruin it. Taking a deep breath, she turned back to the camera on her phone. Anyway, guys, I tried to be nice, but some people just don't understand how to work together, right? She expected her chat to back her up, to flood the screen with supportive messages. But as the comments rolled in, her smile faltered just a little. Haha, this guy is awesome. He just made you look silly without even trying. He could just move though. Celine, I think you're being a little mean. Celine frowned. What? That wasn't how this was supposed to go. She was the influencer, the star, the one everyone admired. But now, the attention was shifting away from her and onto this random man. This man in the dark blue hoodie with his calm, unfazed expression. And the worst part? He didn't even care. People at nearby tables were sneaking glances at them. Some whispered to each other. Celine could feel their eyes on her. But she wasn't going to back down. No way. She turned back to the man, putting on her best fake smile. Seriously, can't you just move to another table? It'll only take a second. The man looked at her, raised his eyebrows slightly and said, I like this table. That was it. That was the last straw. Celine took a deep breath, closed her eyes and counted to 3. When she opened them again, she was ready to shut this guy down for good. Sir, I don't know if you've noticed, but this is a high-end restaurant, she said, her voice dripping with fake politeness. The least we expect here is a little self-awareness. The man just smiled and continued eating at his own pace. Self-awareness? He repeated as if he was testing the word. Celine scoffed. Exactly. And since you seem so comfortable here, I'll give you some free advice, okay? She turned toward her phone, her eyes gleaming with artificial kindness. Guys, have you ever heard of energy? High vibrations. This restaurant is a place of high frequency, you know? We need to keep our energy elevated. Then she turned back to the man, smiling sweetly, though there was nothing real about that smile. And honestly, sir, you seem kind of, I don't know, drained, she said with fake concern. Maybe a salt bath would help? The entire restaurant went silent. For a moment, there was nothing but the soft clinking of silverware and the faint hum of whispered conversations. Celine glanced down at her phone, expecting to see laughing emojis and messages hyping her up. Instead, the chat had changed. Oof, that was kinda rude, Celine. Yikes, this is so embarrassing to watch. Celine, you're acting weird. Celine's smile twitched, but she held her composure. No big deal. They'll come around. Then the chat took a sudden turn. Wait, I think I know who that guy is. OMG. No way. Celine, get out of there. Celine, stop. Right. Now. Her smirk faded. What? What's going on, guys? She muttered, scrolling through the frantic comments. Her stomach clenched as more messages poured in, flooding her screen faster than she could read. She slowly turned back to the man, her fake confidence slipping away. And that's when she noticed it. His calm, collected face. His relaxed posture. The way he wasn't even bothered by anything she had said. It was like he knew exactly what was happening. Like he had been expecting this. The other people in the restaurant were starting to realize it too. Whispers grew louder. Some diners were pulling out their phones, recording the moment. And then, suddenly, Celine got it. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled faster through the chat, searching for answers. And then she saw it. The name that made her entire world crash down in an instant. Keanu Reeves. The man in the dark blue hoodie. The one she had just insulted, mocked, and tried to embarrass. It was him. Keanu Reeves, a Hollywood legend. One of the most respected actors in the world. One of the internet's most beloved people. And she had just humiliated him. What? Her phone nearly slipped from her hands. Her face went pale. For a few seconds she opened her mouth, but no words came out. No. This had to be a nightmare. A mistake. But the expressions on the faces around her told her it was very real. The other patrons had already put the pieces together. Some whispered excitedly. Others had their cameras rolling, capturing every second of her downfall. Her reputation was seconds away from imploding. But she couldn't let that happen. She wouldn't let that happen. She did what she did best, tried to take control of the situation. She forced a laugh, waving her hand dismissively. "Oh, come on, guys. You're overreacting," she said. "Of course I know who he is." She let out another laugh, this time a little shaky. "Keanu is a cool actor and all, but like, no one is untouchable, right?" She glanced at Keanu, hoping he would just laugh it off, maybe even play along. But he didn't. He just watched her. He didn't look angry. He didn't even look surprised. He just waited. And that was worse. Because Keanu Reeves didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't need to fight back. His presence alone was enough to shatter Celine from the inside out. She turned back to her phone, desperate to flip the script. "Guys, seriously, this is not a big deal. Come on, who hasn't messed around a little?" But the comments were brutal. "Celine, just stop. You're making it worse. I can't watch this anymore. This is so bad. OMG, she's done for." And then Keanu Reeves finally decided to speak. Celine held her breath. He placed his napkin on the table, took a slow, deep breath, and looked her straight in the eyes. And then he said the words that would completely destroy her. Keanu looked at her with a soft, sad expression. He wasn't mad. He wasn't annoyed. He just looked at her like he felt sorry for her, like she was something broken. Then, in a calm, steady voice, he spoke words that would change everything forever. "You know, I never had to beg for attention online to feel important." The entire restaurant froze. Celine held her breath. The waiters stopped moving. The diners leaned in closer. Phones were lifted, cameras recording every second. Her live chat went wild, messages flooding in like a storm. But Keanu? He just picked up his wine glass and took a slow sip. No rush. No reaction. He didn't even glance at the camera. It was as if this entire situation didn't matter to him. And maybe it didn't. But for Celine it was the end. She could feel her face burning. She had to say something, anything. She couldn't just sit there and take it. The shame inside her turned into something hotter, something sharper. Anger. She refused to lose. "Oh great, now you're going to hit me with some deep wisdom? Who do you think you are?" she snapped, trying to sound tough. But her voice shook. The people in the restaurant whispered to each other. And for the first time, Celine noticed something. She was alone. Before, she had been the queen of her live stream. Every comment, every like, every viewer had been hers. People cheered her on, praised her, followed her. But now, no one was on her side. Still, Celine Sky wasn't a quitter. She tried again. She forced a smile, turned to the camera, and put on her confident voice. "You might be famous, Keanu Reeves, but I'm the new generation," she declared, flipping her hair. "People like him are over. This is the future. And if he doesn't get it, that's his loss." Silence. No claps. No cheers. Then Keanu chuckled. It was quiet, barely even a laugh, but the whole restaurant heard it. And what came next destroyed her completely. Keanu lifted his gaze, still wearing that small, knowing smile, and said, "The problem with the new generation isn't the future they create. It's the emptiness they leave behind." Boom. Gasps filled the room. The live chat exploded into chaos. Celine's breath hitched. Her stomach twisted. She had never felt this way before. She had lost. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Her hands clenched into fists. Her nails dug into her palms. No, she wouldn't let this happen. She wouldn't let him win. Rage boiled inside her, blinding and uncontrollable. She had to do something big, something to take back control. So she did the only thing she could think of. She swung a punch. The strike was fast, wild, full of anger and desperation. But Keanu didn't even move. He simply lifted one hand and caught her wrist midair, firm, calm, and effortless. Time seemed to stop. Celine's arm trembled. She tried to pull away, but she couldn't. Keanu's grip wasn't tight or aggressive. He wasn't hurting her. He was just unshakable. And then he looked into her eyes. There was no anger, no hatred, no disgust, just pity. Celine felt a chill run down her spine. And in that moment she saw herself, truly saw herself. The way people looked at her. The way she had acted. The way she had become. The rage disappeared. And all that was left was shame. Keanu slowly released her wrist. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. And that's when Celine broke. She staggered backward, her legs weak. Her heels slipped on the polished floor. Her phone wobbled in her hand. Keanu sighed, took another slow sip of wine and went back to eating. As if nothing had happened. And that was the final straw. Laughter erupted through the restaurant. Celine was still on the floor. Her knees ached. Her ankle throbbed. But none of that pain compared to what she felt inside. Everyone was laughing at her. Their phones were pointed at her, recording every second of her humiliation. And her live stream? Still running. The comments were an avalanche, cruel and unstoppable. Celine's fingers trembled as she pushed herself up. Her heart pounded in her chest. She needed to get out of there. She needed to run. But before she could take a step, a voice cut through the air. Mississippi. Celine turned slowly. A man in a dark suit stood in front of her. His posture was perfect, his face unreadable. The restaurant manager. He looked at her with cold, professional detachment. And then, in a firm, unwavering voice, he spoke the words that sealed her fate. I'm going to have to ask you to leave the restaurant immediately. Silence. But this time it was different. This was the kind of silence that comes right before the final blow. Celine's eyes got really big. She couldn't believe what she had just heard. You're joking, right? She said with a nervous laugh. Do you even know who I am? The manager didn't even blink. Here at LLE we treat everyone with kindness and respect. But you, miss, do not. Celine's face turned red. She looked around, hoping someone would stand up for her. But no one did. The other guests just watched. The waiters didn't say anything, but some of them looked happy. That's when Celine realized she was all alone. This is so unfair, she yelled, crossing her arms. I'm going to ruin this restaurant. My fans will destroy you. Keanu, who was still sitting quietly, just gave a small smile. He took one last sip of his drink and said softly, Are you sure? Celine felt her stomach drop. She grabbed her phone, expecting to see messages of support. But the comments were different now. I think you already lost this fight. Celine, stop embarrassing yourself. This is hard to watch. Lady, you messed with the wrong person. If Keanu is on the restaurant side, then so am I. Celine didn't just lose the argument. She lost control of the story. She lost everything. The manager stood tall. Our staff will walk you to the door. Celine had no choice. Everyone was watching. The whole world had seen her fail. She clenched her jaw, took a deep breath, and walked away. Her high heels clicked against the shiny floor as she left, angry, defeated, and no longer acting so important. As soon as she stepped outside, the restaurant burst into loud applause. People weren't faking it. They were happy. And in the middle of it all, Keanu Reeves just kept eating, like nothing had happened. Because to him it didn't matter. But for Celine, this was just the beginning of her worst nightmare. Celine Sky climbed into her car, shaking with anger. Her driver glanced at her in the mirror. Are you okay, miss? Shut up, she snapped. She had no patience left. She grabbed her phone. The live stream was still on. 4.3 million people were watching. But now the comments weren't cheering for her. They were laughing at her. Her heart sank. This couldn't be happening. But it was. And it was about to get even worse. Minutes later, the internet exploded. The video of Celine arguing with Keanu spread everywhere. People turned it into jokes. Her shocked face was now a meme. When you pick a fight with the wrong person. No filter can fix this. High vibes. More like high delusions. And then came the emails. In the days that followed, the whole world kept talking about what had happened. But Keanu Reeves? He didn't say a single word. That hurt Celine the most. She wanted him to react, to say something, anything. But Keanu just went on with his life. He was seen walking in Los Angeles, drinking coffee, riding his motorcycle, just living like normal. To him, none of this mattered. That was the worst part. At the end of the week, a journalist visited the restaurant. He looked through the guest book and found something special. Keanu Reeves had left a message before leaving that night. It was written in neat, simple handwriting. True influence isn't measured by what you show off, but by what you share with the world. A photo of the message was posted online. It went viral instantly. People loved it. Meanwhile, Celine sat alone in her dark apartment, watching everything fall apart. No sponsors. No brand deals. No fans. No respect. And out there, Keanu Reeves was still walking the streets in his dark blue hoodie just like always. Because to him, nothing had changed. He didn't need to win. He didn't need to prove anything. Because real respect isn't loud. It doesn't need to fight for attention. And in the end, Celine Sky was never a real threat. She was just another person trying to be famous in the worst way. And in a world where everyone wants to be noticed, Keanu Reeves reminded us that the strongest people don't need to shout. They let their actions speak for them. If you enjoyed this story, share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you think. Don't forget to subscribe for more amazing stories filled with adventure, mystery, and excitement. Your support means the world and it helps keep these stories coming. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.